At this time, I want to introduce Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, who was reelected to her 4th term to represent North Carolina's 5th District in the House of Representatives in November 2010. But during her first 3 terms, Ms. Foxx established herself as a champion of conservative values and helped lead the national movements to reduce federal government spending and increase accountability in the federal government. Congresswoman Foxx currently chairs the House Subcommittee on Higher Education. She also serves in the powerful House Committee on Rules. The Rules Committee determines what legislation comes to the floor in the House and what amendments will be allowed during a floor debate. The nonpartisan magazine National Journal ranked Foxx the most conservative member of the North Carolina congressional delegation and more conservative than 91.3% of the House members. She was also one of just 38 Republicans to score 100% approval rating from the American Conservative Union. Representative Foxx is a visible leader in the House Republican Conference, where she regularly takes a stand for the principles of individual freedom and limited government. She was also the first member of the 2004 class to introduce and pass a substantive bill in the House of Representatives. In 2008, Foxx successfully passed a bill to streamline the federal government and save taxpayer money. This accomplishment makes her one of the few members of Congress who took office in 2004 who got legislation signed into law in both the 109th and 110th Congress. Prior to serving on Capitol Hill, Foxx had spent 10 years in the North Carolina Senate, where she successfully sponsored several statewide and local bills and consistently voted against tax increases and for legislation that would make governments more efficient and less wasteful. Dr. Foxx is a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where she received her A.B. degree in English and in sociology. She earned her doctorate in education in curriculum and teaching higher education from UNC Greensboro. Dr. Foxx began her career as a secretary and a research assistant at UNC Chapel Hill. She also taught at Caldwell County or Community College and was an instructor at Appalachian State University. Dr. Foxx also served the Deputy Secretary for Management in the North Carolina Department of Administration for Governor Jim Martin. Prior to her election to the Senate in 1994, she served as the president and later a consultant for Maryland Community College from 1987 until 1994. Let's welcome Congresswoman Virginia Foxx.
Thanks. That was way too long an introduction. I've had a lot of good life experiences, though, and I think that's important for somebody who serves in elected office. I really do. I think it's very important that we've had a variety of experiences, and I've been blessed, very, very blessed. I am so delighted to be with you all today, and I can't tell you how much the encouraging words that I've received from so many of you here mean to me. You know, it's a tough situation, number one, to run for office, and it's tough sometimes to stand up and stand out for the things that you believe in. But I am known for doing that, and one of the reasons that I have the courage to do it is because of folks like you who give me such positive feedback. And that is very important. And I hope you will do that for other elected officials, because many years ago when I was on the school board in Watauga County, I had a county commissioner call me up one night and say, tell me something positive I'd done. And he said, as a county commissioner, he realized one good call was worth 10 bad ones. And so it's true. So often people only write or comment when it's a negative thing. And if you've ever been in the retail business, you've probably heard that. You know that the negative comments get around, the positive comments don't. So if you have voted for someone or you supported someone who's in elected office, let me encourage you when they do something right to stroke them a little bit. That will help them continue to do things right. So please do that, okay? I'm grateful to you for doing that for me today. So many of you speaking so positively, and it does make a big difference. I want to thank you too for standing up for religious freedom. The signs are great. I also love this sign over here, safety first, protect the U.S. Constitution. Marie is putting together all these wonderful signs. I got one to go on my car. I'm going to put it on my car and ride around with it because the Constitution is what we should be protecting. And if we'd stuck closer to the Constitution over the years, folks, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in now. Woo. I don't want to talk too long because it's cooler out there in the shade than people think it is, and I don't want to keep you all cold, but I want to thank Ramona Tim for singing the 4th verse of the Star-Spangled Banner today. I often use that verse in speeches because I think it's so important. We all know the first verse, and we hear it over and over, but that 4th verse is so powerful. It says so much about our country. And I want to encourage you all again to encourage other people to use that verse, because if you stop and think about it, you know, when we're singing older hymns, when we're singing the Star-Spangled Banner, think about how many of our principles are encased in the words of these songs. And they are stirring for us. And the song Under God was wonderful too. I agree. It gives me goosebumps to hear that song. And this is such an uplifting event we're having. Major Dave stole some of my thunder in some of the comments that he made, but I am going to reiterate some principles that he mentioned in his comments, and I appreciate his commenting on the things I've said before. And it is true in the House of Representatives, and I point this out to every group that I get a chance to talk to and take into the House, that around the top of the wall there are these profiles of ancient lawgivers. And there is only one full-face figure, and that is Moses, and he's looking straight down at the speaker. And above the speaker's stand it says, "In God we trust." And I'm so grateful that we have that as a symbol for those symbols for our country. And what you're talking about and what we're all standing up for is to maintain that. I just came from Alexander County. They're having their 24th annual Apple Festival over there. And guess what? They begin with a prayer, with the pledge, and with the Star-Spangled Banner. And I get very touched because I know that's what most of the people in this country want to do at every event, just like we've done here. And I say this again when I speak to groups a lot of times. I spoke to the Boy Scouts earlier this week, and I say, you know, if we're not careful, we'll lose that right. We will lose the rights to be able to worship God the way we wish to do so. And that's why you're here today. And again, I want to make a few other comments. We know this country was founded by people who feel the way we feel right now. They came here in order to worship God as they chose. They withstood privation. They withstood very, very tough conditions in order to do that. And we're the first country in the world where people thought that they had the right to be free and to be independent. And that's why our founders, enshrined those principles in our Constitution. Thomas Jefferson said, "The constitutional freedom of religion is the most inalienable and sacred of all human rights. It is absolutely inseparable from the American way of life, and it sets us apart in the world. Jefferson also said, among the most inestimable of our blessings is that of liberty to worship our Creator in the way we think most agreeable to His will. A liberty deemed in other countries incompatible with good government, and yet proved by our experience to be its best support. Alexis de Tocqueville, when he came, saw the role of religious freedom in our country, and it made a lasting impression on him. Religion, de Tocqueville described, he said, was indispensable to the maintenance of Republican institutions. And that is absolutely true. We will not maintain our government, our form of government, if we cannot maintain the kind of moral values that underpin our government. That's what Washington said, that's what Adams said, that's what Jefferson said. They all knew that. We also have always benefited from what our religions have felt about charities and about the way we treat our fellow human beings. We have all these wonderful institutions in our society. Church, in addition to churches, we have hospitals, universities, colleges, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all of these things which are focused on doing good that come out of our religious freedom. However, on January 20th, 2012, Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius announced that pursuant to ObamaCare, all United States employers would be required to provide abortion-inducing drugs and contraceptive pills in their employee health insurance plans. Bad, bad policy. While churches themselves would not fall under the mandate, any religious employer that employs or serves people of different faiths by providing services such as soup kitchens, hospital care, and higher education would not be exempted. This puts those organizations and the people who lead them in a terrible position of choosing between facilitating contraception, even though the church teaches that in some instances it's intrinsically wrong, or drawing consequences from our government. Requiring employers to act against their religious beliefs is a violation of the First Amendment's protection of the free exercise of religion. You all are students of the Constitution. I don't need to give you lessons on it because you're much better informed than most people in our country. But never, ever should our government even attempt to supplant the role of faith, nor should government force its citizens to make a choice between violating the tenets of one's personally held beliefs and violating the rule of law. That is unacceptable in this country. We all know that the Constitution was set up as a check on the federal government. That's what it was there. It's designed for. It isn't designed to tell us what all our rights are. It's a very short document, and it has done over the years what it was intended to do. But now we have an administration who wants to change that. If that is allowed to happen, both our citizens and our society will suffer. The only group being compelled by this particular government mandate to adopt new behaviors and practices are people of faith. We cannot allow that to happen. Many seem, though, to have lost sight of the fact that we cannot allow Washington to force religiously affiliated institutions to violate central tenets of faith. It's an offense to us, it's an offense to the Constitution, and it has to go. We cannot allow it to stand. Unfortunately, though, we have to make sure that people in this country who are not here and who are not part of our groups understand what this whole issue is about. Unfortunately, the media is focusing on university co-eds and their ability to get birth control. That's not the issue, folks. Our media has distorted this as they do so many other things. We've got to make sure people understand that this is a matter of religious freedom. We've got to bring that back front and center. And whether this mandate stands is going to be a defining moment for the United States of America. And the Wall Street Journal says it is going to determine, quote, whether the entitlement state can pound everything, including religious belief, to its political will. That's the place where we are in this country right now. Now, I want to tell you again, I have voted over 32 times to get rid of ObamaCare. So have the other Republicans in the House of Representatives. We've had that opportunity. The members of the Senate have not had that opportunity because the Senate is controlled by the other side. Now, we have a clear choice this fall. The election's just a little over 2 weeks away. We either can elect leaders who will make policies that support freedom of religion, or we can elect people that want to thwart freedom of religion. The outcome of this election is going to have serious implications for this country. So I want all of you, I know you do, but you're going to have to continue to work hard to make sure that this message gets out to other people who don't feel as strongly about this as you do, because they don't understand. They have been confused about this issue again. I use a very country analogy to explain it to people. If you put a frog in a pot of hot water, it's going to jump out. But if you put that frog in a pot of cold water and gradually turn up the heat, pretty soon you've cooked the frog. And that's where we are in this country. We are allowing our freedoms to be eroded a little at a time. We now have very clearly a position that wants to take our most basic freedom away from us. If we allow that to happen, we are literally cooked, because the rest of the freedoms will go away also. So we've got to stand up for it. We have got to make sure that we do the right things. I have often made this little speech on the floor of the House because I feel so strongly about this, and I have for a long time. There's another way to consider the significance of the time that we are in, and you might be able to convince some unbelievers by using the words of German pastor Martin Niemöller. And again, many of you will know this. First they came for the socialist, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Folks, that's where we are. That is where we are. So we have to speak up for our fellow Americans, those who may not understand the significance of the situation that we're in. We want our children and grandchildren to enjoy a free America that continues to protect the rights of conscience. And it is up to us to make sure that that is the country that we leave to our posterity. If we allow the freedom of religion to be undermined, then all the rest of our freedoms are gone. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for what you're doing. May God continue to bless you, and may God continue to bless America.